Here's another video about how to make the best of a terrible situation. I've ended up again in a match where I'm going to have a lot of trouble. Not a tier 10 match thankfully, but tier 9s, heavily armoured tier 9s. So they're definitely going to give me problems. I decided to load heat straight away just because, you know, why risk it? And I decided to head to the island rather than going for hill, which I'm not fast enough to get to, or going to the city where I'm going to be dealing head-on with a lot of very heavily armoured shit. So straight away the Panther gets spotted coming out here. Marius is coming with me in his T44. Just adjusting my camera here to try and get a more comfortable amount of distance between it and my tank. So the Panther comes up. I don't want to pop over just yet. I'd be exposing myself, so this is lit instead. I decide to go for it. Unfortunately, firing the gun gets me spotted and it's already aiming at me, so I take a pretty big hit off him, but he's at least removed from the game. Panther gets taken out, but we have two problems here, the Pershing and the 54E1, the 54E1 being the scarier of the two. He can kill me in, I believe, 3 shots, unless Helo rolls every single one, in which case he'd just kill me in 4. He won't have trouble penning me anywhere. So you can see here I'm just trying to keep him lit, hoping that our guys up on the hill will have shots, but also being careful not to expose myself too much to their base. In case you didn't see my other T69 video that should be uploaded by now, I run optics on this tank. Gives it a 440 meter view range, which is pretty good at spotting. So you can see the 4502B is spotted with his arse hanging out. I have AP loaded, so I'm not really doing a lot to him. I get 2 shots of 4 through. Sort of an unfortunate fact of life when you play the T69, that's going to happen. As I said at the start of the match, it's like a who's who of things I'm going to have trouble penning. So T28 Proto spotted. I'm loading heat. I have what appears to be a good side shot at him, but he ruins it by turning. I don't know where that shot even went. That one bounces because he's turning his turret. But I do get to him. Not very effective fire right there. 2 penning shots out of a clip of 4 is not very good. But I have to take damage where I can get it here. In this case I notice I'm being looked at by the 4502. I'm not quick enough to avoid getting hit, but thankfully he only damages my track. Shot probably went under my hull. So here I'm just positioning, trying to spot things if I can. See the T30's there? He turns to look at me. Seeing if I could get a shot at his cupola, but with him looking this way it's not worth the risk. So I move in behind the rocks where he can't see me instead, and chance it with the mediums. He's taken a hit there, so I decide to come out and risk it. Then I manage to get 1 damaging shot, 1 tracking shot in before he disappears into cover. Pershing pops up and hits me in the periscope, and it's just shot at my cupola. So I don't clip yet, I'm just waiting for him to push me, but instead the 54E1 comes up. So I get my 2 shots into him. I really should have reloaded there when the Pershing bounced off me, or not bounced off me, but 0 damaged me. I'd pay for it dearly there. Losing my ammo rack and almost getting clipped down by the 54E1. So I've done it. Passable amount of damage so far, but you can see I'm not really using my hit points effectively. And when I clip people, I'm usually only penning 2 shots. I decide to parachute off the back of a hill, because it's just not a good position to be in right now. Because the T69 doesn't have very much armor on any angle, I tend to ignore its armor layout and just drive around in ways that best position my gun rather than best positioning my armor. I think that's really a way you have to play autoloaders. I do much the same in my Batchat, my AMX-13s. or my AMX 13 that's singular. I don't have a 1375, but it's a habit I get into with light tanks as well. If you know your armor doesn't really matter, and you're going to get hit in the modules pretty much anywhere, which is typical of small tanks like the T69 or any light tank, it's just worth making sure your gun's in a good spot, if nothing else is. So I spot the T54E1 running away, and being a tier 9 autoloader with a good gun, I want to get him out of the game. Unfortunately, that first shot just didn't do it. So now I tell Marius to try and get him before he can run away and clip somebody else. Marius gets a tracking shot in, and then the E50 immediately follows it up. So the enemy are down to 3 tanks now. Our team's rallied pretty strongly, and right as I was hoping to reload and clip into the IS-8 side, our team actually capped out. So I would have picked up maybe another 1300 odd damage there, but you know, I'll take a win in a tier 9 game. Island was probably the least bad position I could put myself in, but it still got pretty hairy. The T69 doesn't really trade shots well with tier 9s or with hull down American tanks, but if you know how to position well, you can keep yourself alive just long enough to crank out a decent amount of damage, which is what I did. It's all about knowing when the terrain's blocking line of sight between the enemy and you, and when it's making it difficult for them to depress or elevate their guns to hit you. I say this ad nauseum, but really I think it's one of the most critical skills in the game, and I think it's one that a lot of people actually lack, especially watching puppies play. They'll drive up places where they can't depress their gun without realizing it, or they'll sit out of cover when there's a perfectly good bowl depression next to them they could hide in. It's really something that people need to pick up some awareness of. So hopefully those of you who actually watch my videos will be doing that and improving your play as a result.